Glory to her heroes. My name is John Babiak. I'm a first-generation Ukrainian-American, a very proud one. My parents were World War II refugees from Western Ukraine. They fled when the Nazis occupied most part of Ukraine, SSR then, and immigrated to New York in 1949. Their journey took nearly 5 years. It's fair to say, like some of you here and in other parts of the world, they were displaced Ukrainians. And sadly, history has repeated itself. Today, I'm an educator and also a photojournalist. I've been to Ukraine multiple times with two purposes. One, to document what is happening there, and two, to volunteer with the support of our organizations here and elsewhere to work with our children. And I want to speak specifically about that subset of the Ukrainian population. Because as a journalist, and those of my colleagues that are here in the media, quite often we show images or describe destruction of buildings, lands, vehicles, tanks, airplanes, but very little is given to children in the sense of describing the trauma that they are experiencing today or have. And just by a show of hands, how many of our children here have relocated from Ukraine since the first invasion, 2014, and the second invasion 3 years ago? Show of hands, okay? And the parents too. Vitaly. So I'm going to paint a picture for you. If you were with me, I could show you buildings that have been destroyed. It could be a government building. It could be a hotel. It could be an art museum. It could be schools leveled. All part of a psychological strategy to put the fear of God into the residents of Ukraine. In 2024, Ukraine's population was 40 million. Within months, it dropped by 10 million months. And I was there when the first exodus occurred, where nearly 10 million Ukrainians, 6 million were leaving the country, and then a subset of those, 3 million, were relocating from the east of Ukraine, closest to the Russian border, to Western Ukraine. Of that 10 million, 5 million were children. 5 million, okay? They were uprooted from normalcy in their respective lives and had to start all over. When I was in Poland, they came with their grandparents, they came with their aunts and uncles, they came with their mothers. Fathers, brothers, sadly, remained behind and fought for the freedoms that they all grew up with. Today, we have lost 500 Ukrainian children. 2,000 are permanently maimed. Eyesight, gone. Limbs, appendages, gone. Trauma to the brain, severe. 1.5 of our Ukrainian children, million, have lost a loved one. Tato, mama, voiko, dido, father, sister, brother, uncle, aunt. 1.5, right? 30% of our children feel hopeless. Imagine that this will never turn around and they're going to grow up like this permanently. 2 million have experienced closure of their schools. Where do they school? On the internet. They're at home. They're not having the proper development and socialization that I, as an educator, try to bring to schools and to classrooms. 365 of our schools, elementary to high school in Ukraine, have been leveled. If you were with me in Kharkiv, the closest city to the Russian border, our second largest city in Ukraine, the newest school there is buried underground for safety purposes. So the original school was destroyed, new one built underground. Children see daylight when they arrive to school and when they go home. If we were in Kyiv, our capital city, I could take you to the bowels of subway stations that have been converted into classrooms. Train cars are the schoolrooms, the platforms are the play areas, the library, and the cafeteria. Imagine that. Imagine what that does to our future, our children. Okay? It's honest. Okay? Last but not least, and the most ugliest, is 20,000 of our youth have been forcibly abducted by Russians and taken into Russian-occupied lands as well as into Russia proper to be converted into Russians. So I ask you to share this message with your friends, with our representatives, because it's something that is not said too often, and our future lies in our children. So the take-home message is, whoever you support, do not neglect our disabled children, displaced children, and those abducted.